someone's about to attack you or try to do something to you, you should always think like, okay, he's gonna do this to me, but I need to do something back to him. So I usually feel pretty comfortable when I see Marine tank running towards my base, and I have 20 mutas or 25 mutas, and I have a shitload of links that I can morph to banelings at any time. I feel like I don't really need to use my mutas defensively, so that's when I would just go to his main, kill all SCVs, kill buildings, whatever I can to do damage, and then at the very last moment I pull back those mutas, and then I'm gonna, you know, try to stop this.
Yeah, crush the push, win the
push.
game.
And win the game, because then you know, if I crush this push, I did so much damage to him, game's over. It makes things a lot more controlled for you.
Yeah.
Like if you pull back immediately and you stop the push, then hey, I didn't do any damage to him, he has 3 base, so where am I at in the game after that? And that makes you rely on solely on your army to stop this push to win the game, but if you do a lot of damage back, I find it easier to play. It's like, yeah, my mindset just becomes at ease with the situation in the game, so that's something I would advise you to do in that game differently. But normally, yeah, just if you have a group of 20 links or you have 40 links, just send 20 links to a corner of the map and think, okay, he's going to move out, I'm going to use these, get in this mineral line as natural, or get into his base. Always try to look for little things where you can put pressure back onto your opponent. With mutas, with zerglings, you can try burrowed banelings. I don't know how you feel about that. Those are pretty annoying for Terran to deal with. But I think like Zerg has a lot of options, ZvT, to make life hard on a Terran, just as hard as life is for Zerg.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's just talk about, you know, this replay should have just finished up for you if you were on ×4. Things that maybe that stuck out for you, aside from the mistake of coming back with the mutas too soon. What went right there, and most importantly, what went wrong with that last engagement that caused everything to end in humiliating defeat?
I'm just gonna take a closer look at that engagement in just a second. So
yeah, it starts around I think 1630, 1645.
Yeah, I see my army moving to you right now.
Yeah, 17 minutes is when you start to really push down the map.
I definitely feel like it was a mistake for you to have banelings just come in from one side, and also you only had 17 banelings when you pushed me. So against this many Marines, I think you had something silly like 120 lings and 17 banelings. I feel like a much better number would be to have 50 banelings and 80 lings against this kind of push, and you would have probably crushed me. And there's no reason why you couldn't have had that many banelings. I mean, you have enough gas, you have enough economy to support that, so the only thing I can say is try to make more banelings before a fight next time. Like what I usually do, this might not be ideal, but it'll give you some idea of how many banelings you need. When I'm about to attack, I click my zerglings and I hold down the E button till it says not enough gas.
Okay.
You know, that's pretty much my basic.
That's the big secret.
The baneling radio. So I just want to have as many of those as possible, especially against a Terran who has this many Marines. And I think if you would have done that with all your gas on banelings, you would have crushed this push without a problem.
All right. Okay, cool. Well, let's hop out of this replay here. I'm just going to ask you a couple questions about other stuff. Well, I'm going to check on this first. Oh, never mind. So still no Terran players from me.
Yeah, not from me either. I mean, Drewby's AFK, DDE is teaching. Hard to find top Terran players at this hour.
Yeah. Okay, so one thing that I wanted to ask you is if I've been, you know, I try to kind of keep up with trends and stuff in the StarCraft universes. I'm sure I'm not quite as in touch with them as you are, though. And one thing that I'm starting to see a little bit more, and one thing I think Day 9's starting to get all happy about, is this Roach Infestor play against Terran. Are you familiar with it, and do you have an opinion on it?
I haven't really used it. I feel like muta count is much more important than infestors. So when I play ZvT, I just try to get up to enough mutas where I can do damage.
Okay.
And that's when I might think about infestors, but at that point, my army already consists of Mutaling Bane, so I might add 3 or 4 infestors at that point, but never really roaches. Against standard marine tank play anyways. I like roaches against mech. You obviously need roaches against mech. I like roaches in some scenarios where Terran do like really weird unit combinations, like some Terrans go something silly like Thor Hellion, Marine, and then a couple of Marauders and a couple of tanks, and against weird situations like that I feel like roaches are solid, but in the most standard game where Terran just goes Marine tank, like all the Koreans are doing right now, I don't really get roaches. There's one thing I should add though. In some games, it's like Zelnaga is a good example of a map where Terran can just take their third base and get a planetary fortress up. And in that case, I feel like it's really hard to break them with Mutaling Baneling. So some technique that I have been using recently is whenever I get maxed or close to max, and I feel like there's going to be a really big clash soon where both sides are going to be losing a lot of units, is I will get the Roach Warren and I will get Roach Beat, anticipating this clash. And then what I do is, after I lose my whole army, and hopefully he loses his whole army as well, I just rally really close to their third base, and then I just hold down the R button and max up on Roaches. Perhaps a few Zerglings as well for Banelings, and then I feel like the second wave is a lot stronger with Roaches rather than maxing out on Mutaling Baneling again.
Okay, I think Zelnaga is a good map to talk about. I'm glad that you brought it up, because I've seen some games that seem quite one-sided. Also, I have a Terran player that's going to come play with us, by the way. He's finishing a ladder game. So finally we'll have a 3100 Terran to come jump in with us.
Alright, so I'm going to be playing him then?
Yeah, I think he's going to be probably 10 minutes. So we might even be able to play half of a game on Zelnaga, and he's going to message me when he's done. But I wanted to ask you, I've seen some games on Zelnaga, and I think maybe it was on Idra's stream actually, where he had split the map against some Korean Terran player, and he was on some crazy unit composition. He had Mutaling, Broodlord, and Fester, or some shit, ultimate in-game army. And Terran's just turtling. He's got the map split. It's Zelnaga Caverns, so it's hard to cross that center section. And he's got tanks and Marines and Thors and Vikings and maybe a Raven. Just all that. It was Terran Ultimate Army against Zerg Ultimate Army, and it seemed like nothing that Idra could do could gain him any ground. There was no crossing the middle. There was nothing. It wasn't happening. And a lot of people will say that, hey, at the end game Zerg can just overwhelm Terran, but to me that game felt like there was nothing that the Zerg player could do, because that Terran army with all that shit becomes so difficult to attack into. Do you have any advice for attacking into or dealing with that in-game Terran army?
When it gets to the super late game, I would always advise getting something like, this is like ideally what you want to have late game. You want to have like 15 infestors and something like 7 or 8 brute lords, and then maybe 10 corruptors. And then what you can do is, this is something the Zergs in Europe have actually been using much more than the Zergs in Korea, but from what I saw of it, it was really strong. And what you do is you just you use infested Terrans, like kind of as a meat shield in front, so you just constantly spawn eggs, and then you just slowly push forward with brute lords and corruptors behind them. You try to fungal Vikings, and then this whole time you're moving forward, you're spawning infested Terrans in front of your army, just to take tank shots and to like serve as a buffer for your relatively weak brute lord infestor corruptor combination. I think that works quite well as an endgame unit composition, so you might want to try around with that. And also in the late game, of course, on maps like Zelnaga, you want to always be looking to send small armies around the back, Or if he's on the top position and he's camping the third base, you can send small armies around the right side of the map into his main and do all sorts of little cute stuff like that just to mess him up a little bit more. But it's definitely not an easy situation if the Terran has 4 bays and you have 4 or 5 bays and he's just sitting there camping and you can't really do anything. I think, yeah, your best bet is probably the Mass Infestor, Mass Brootlord.
Mass Infestor, Mass Broodlord. That's
Yeah, it sounds very gas heavy, I know, but you know, if you should probably be on 5 or 6 days at least to think about this. You also want to be very careful with your infestors, and because you really need a lot of infested Terrans. They serve really well as a meat shield. Actually, it surprised me the first time I saw it, but I think that works probably best. You know, the alternatives are like maybe like ultras, or
no,
just
ultras are terrible. Don't even.
Yeah, ultras are terrible.
Let's not talk about ultras. It makes me sad to see the state of the ultra list.
Well, ultras can be okay if you get infestors with them, right? Because if you don't, you're just gonna get kited by Marauder, Marine, whatever. Just gonna stim and shoot you and run back. Yeah, you're just gonna watch your ultras die, and there's gonna be Zerg tears all over your face. But with infestors, they can be okay. But against mass tank, Thor, you know, upgraded Marines, I think, yeah, ultras are hard to use, and Brootlord, Corruptor, and Infestor I think is the best late game composition.
Cool. Well, let's jump in. We're gonna play one. I doubt we'll even get through this game unless you just destroy me with some early cheese. But as soon as my Terran guy gets done, I want to jump right in with him and have you play a couple games with him so that we can just kind of get in your head and see how you think. You ready to go?
Yeah, let's go.
All right. Good luck. Have fun.
Good luck. Have fun.
So infested Terrans, man. That's a suggestion I wasn't expecting to hear.
No, it surprised me too when I saw it, but Zergs like Dark Force on Europe and I think Moro too, they've been using that, and yeah, I was really shocked when I saw it because it was working really well in 200 against 200 situations. Of course, not like you're not gonna win every game, but it seems like the best solution. Zerg really doesn't have that many options. You know, once everyone's fully tagged, then you got Hive and everyone has the map.
Yeah, we don't quite have enough units, it feels like sometimes.
We don't have an endgame killer or anything like that, unfortunately.
Broodlords are probably the closest thing we have to it, in my opinion.
Yeah, Ultralisks were really nice in StarCraft 1. I wish, you know, we had those. But
yeah, this Ultra is a far cry from the SC1 Ultra. Highly mobile, highly tanky.
As in StarCraft 1, you could pretty much do anything with an Ultra. I mean, they were fast enough to stop drops, always show up anywhere on the map in time. But this Ultra is just very, very gimp.
The thing that upsets me most about the Ultralisk is just how fucking fat and clumsy he is. He won't fit through any holes.
No, he just gets stuck and doesn't hit shit. It's horrible.
You gotta go yell at David Kim and make him fix it.
Oh, I yell at David Kim plenty, don't worry about that.
Who are some of the most vocal pro gamers when it comes to complaining about balance?
Well, there's like a famous story in Korea where Czech Prime used to email David Kim non-stop, cry about balance. And then what happened was every other pro gamer knew about it, and Czech got made fun of, so then he stopped. I think, I don't know, David Kim talks to a lot of people. Like, I know he's in contact with Huck, and he has like TLO's MSN. He has my MSN, and he was actually in Korea a couple days ago for the GSL opening, and
That's
he
cool.
talked to a bunch of pro gamers there about balance. So yeah, he's definitely trying to keep in contact with the pro gamers here and get a better idea of balance.
One of the guys I practice with is good buddies with him, so sometimes I'll be, you know, doing King of the Hill or something, he'll pop in there. I've never actually talked to him though. He always types in Korean, so I just like, okay, well, I'll leave this guy alone.
Yeah, that's not very inviting, I guess.
I'm like, hi, David Kim, and then I see some weird symbols. Okay.
Well, don't be worried. He does actually try to get as much feedback as he possibly can from pros out here in Korea.
All right, so I saw one rack